Ah, ici on n'est pas le cours français. Je m'appelle Graphic Man et Ranger Sly, and welcome to this international broadcast of the Graphic Man Show. I am joined by Ranger Sly. It's good to see you, sir. Thank you for.
I'm here.
Thank
Bonjour
you for
tout le monde.
Yes. I'm just exhausted. Well, I can ask you to go for a voulez-vous on promenade. You know, I could ask stuff like that, or je voudrais a Coca-Cola. But I'm about exhausting my vocabulary there. But this is going to be a great giant-size episode, and we're so glad you took time out of your busy schedule to be with us. So let us see who is out there. We have Recess, Graphic Man. I really like what you've been posting on it. Well, thank you. I've been having a blast with that. Hey, here's Jambo. We get to see some Westerns. I think so, Jambo. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, my wife just brought this in to me a little while ago, and I can't wait to open it. It's a secret package from Jambo. So, of course, Jackson Roy Kirk will make a comment about it being ticking. But, and speaking of Jackson Roy Kirk, here he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's back from his worldwide tour of Tanzania. So, hello, my name is Jackson. Well, thank you, Jackson. Glad to see you again. Here's Scotty. No cool here. Okay, well, Michael Taylor saying hello to everybody. And looks like Paulo's here, still up at 1 a.m. We appreciate that, Michael and Paulo. And let's see, here's hello, Eric Breen. You have to watch the Geeky Pup Show to understand that. Scotty's trying to stay awake. Here's, did I skip? Nope, there's another one. And Michael Taylor's back to Eric. Hey, Michael. I'm going to get some more cake. That's a great idea. I wish I could join you. Some people look a little shady. Here's Gary. Hello, Gary. Michael saying hello to Gary. Werewolf by lunchtime. Howdy, cowboys and cowgirls. Ladies and gentlemen, I have asked Werewolf to join us in the past. Unfortunately, he's on the other side of the planet. By the time this show starts to get going, he has to run off to work. So, but hopefully one day that can be arranged. And here's Michael Taylor again. Scotty, I turned 70. Oh. Well.
Happy birthday.
Hello, Werewolf. Werewolf says hello back. I was born in 70. Okay, well, give it a few days, Scotty. And Gotham City is here with this alien symbol. America. Yeah, I think they're commenting on the Canada. Hello, Ron. Here's Michael again. Nothing like his avatar. Oh, no, I think he looks just like his avatar. There's Gratu. Hello, Gratu. Aha, there. Here's some language for you. Paulo's speaking nasty things to us. So.
Salut, Paulo.
And hello, Ron. He was hanging out with Yogi Bear. Yes, sometimes. Here's Comic Book Curator 68. Hello, everyone. And I appreciate you guys for being here tonight. And look there. There's old Higgy. I'm supposed to ring a bell. That's what Dr. Silveridge does. But, so ring, Higgy. There you go. Michael T, CBC, Hobbs, Scotty, Paulo, Gratu, covering everybody. Werewolf does work. Yes, he told me that. Unless he's just using that as an excuse, Some people try to avoid me. I don't blame them. Work. And I'm surprised. Werewolf shows up more live streams than Breen. It's a public holiday. Well, why didn't you tell me? Brother Ron. And Omega, hello there. Tonight is a giant size comics, giant size issues. Occasionally work. And great guest tonight, says Jacob. Hello, Jacob. Good to see
Hey,
you.
Jacob.
And I will try to remember where we left off. Well, no, here's Jacob again. Okay, what's up, chat? And Brother Higgy. Okay. Breed is everywhere. There, I just sang Johnny Cash. So I've have trouble keeping track of what did I show last week. So more Edgar Rice Burroughs. Here's At the Earth's Core. And I'll probably make this a little.
Yeah.
There we go. So I really liked this cover from the paperback, but I didn't care for their title, so I stole that title from another image. It's the image of these two dinosaurs attacking each other. That's the spine. And, of course, this back cover from about, almost 100 years ago. And I really liked that. And the Lana of Gathal. This book is the one that this cover was the Corbin cover. I think if you are a follower of the Gratu Orloff show, you've seen him show it before. Mine was all kind of beat up, so I thought, why don't I make the old classic cover? So this is a combination Lana and John Carter of Mars, but I really loved that spine from the original, so I had to use that image. So
good choice.
Why, thank you. New Tarzan and the Lost Empire. This was the choice for the book, about 100 years ago. And I thought, that's not too bad. I'll go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Just recolor it. Of course, here's the Frazetta for the Ace paperback. And, of course, here's the unique lion for that one. If you're just new to this, I try to put a new lion on every one of them, so they all look a little different. Here's Tarzan and the Lion Man, where Tarzan meets a guy that looks just like him. And there's some crazy apes in this.
Oh, wow. Frazetta again.
Yes.
Man, that guy was good.
He was. He was. And another double book, Swords of Mars and the Synthetic Men of Mars. And so there's both titles, Swords of Mars and the Synthetic Men of Mars. And the back cover, I took the original art from the first printing of the story from Argosy magazine. It's a pulp.
Wow.
So around the 1930s. 2 more Tarzan books, then we'll get to some giant stuff. So the very first book, Tarzan of the Apes. But I thought this was a great picture. Great silhouette action there. And, of course, the lion for that one. And the back cover was pretty outstanding, I thought.
Wow.
Let's see. One more. Tarzan in the Forbidden City.
Oh, wow.
Doesn't really have Tarzan on the cover, but that's okay. This was painted by John Coleman Burroughs.
Is he related to...
Yeah, I believe his son. Yeah.
Oh.
And, of course, the story appeared in Argosy magazine, and I thought that's such a great image.
Yeah.
I will spruce it up and put it on the back cover. So, and there's the lion for that one. So, but they came to see some giants. So I'm going to show some pulp reproductions, and they're giant sized.
Fantastic.
244 pages, and it happens to be the giant from Jupiter.
244 pages. Wow.
Oh, yeah. See how thick that is.
Was that the actual size of the original? 244 pages. Wow.
And speaking of Tarzan, the very first appearance of Tarzan, way back in 1912. Here's the reproduction of that.
I like that when Marvel adapted Tarzan, when they got the license for Tarzan, John Buscema actually
Yes.
Was inspired by this first cover for the Tarzan #1 for Marvel.
Except this guy's replaced with a damsel in distress, and
Okay.
but yeah, that and I recognize that. Right, of course, I never knew about this when I was a kid. My first experience
Yeah, me
was
neither.
the Marvel, you know.
Yeah.
So, and it is a hoot to read stuff from 1912. I'll show you in a second here. Another all story, 1913. This is a John Carter of Mars. It's a giant as well. And so this is what the Martians were thought to look like
Yeah.
over 100 years ago. You see their 4 arms. So even then, they had a pretty good idea. Let me try to show you an ad. I could find a better one than that. A lot of Prince Albert and Akan stuff back in 1913. But so here's a guy on the phone.
Wow.
So that's the kind of ads they had. So this is before radio, you know, before movies. Movies were really in the infancy, but anyway, these were giant, and I can't imagine 15 cents back in 1913.
That must have been a lot, yeah.
Yeah, but you get a lot to read. Here's a giant size blue book with a Tarzan cover.
Nice. 25 cents, this one. Wow.
Yeah. And the Lucky Strike. They're toasted, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
All right. Fantastic event. These are all giants. So Fantastic Adventures. Now we're in 1942.
Oh, the pulp cover.
And I may have shown this one. I don't remember, but it's a giant. So 244 pages. And this one has a good back cover. I'll show you this one later. Here's the Ice Queen. So some of you single guys,
Cool cover.
try to find her. Here's the back cover. Here's Mercury. For all you Mercury fans out there. And I haven't read these yet. The Fifth Planet.
Is this a favorite pulp title for you, Fantastic Adventures?
Yes. And Amazing Stories is number 2. But here's the back cover. It's got Atlas. So you see the world on his back. He's getting something to eat. And, here would you like the head of Medusa? So,
were they doing a series about medical gods and heroes?
I've got another one of Zeus, and I don't know why, but so anyway, that was all the pulp action I'm going to show for the night, and
that was cool.
But that's our giant start, and let me get back to normal here, and we will find where I left off. Let's see. You're already looking at them. Where? Okay, getting close. Hello, Graphic Man and Ranger. We already did that. So tired. Hello. Hey, Michael. Yeah, I've seen some of these. Little Shady. Okay, getting near the end. Cowboys and Girls. And I think, here's Gotham's almost there. Hello, Ron. Figured him hanging out with Yogi Bear. Yeah, we're getting real close. Okay, there's comic book. Go ahead.
No, somebody said CBC, and it's I guess it's the initials of somebody in the chat, but CBC is also the main broadcaster in Canada.
Yeah,
it's like the BBC for us. It's CBC.
They mean this guy, comic book curator, I believe. So,
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
and Higgy says hello. And I may have covered some of these. Okay.
I thought it was a Canadian.
Yes, yeah,
joke.
we have. Okay.
Hey,
Ranger is our favorite Canadian cowboy. How about that?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you,
Oh,
Jackson.
there's Jackson.
And Friar Tuck is here.
Bienvenue.
Michael, always good to see you in the chat, says Jacob.
Yeah, that's better.
At the Arts Corps like Boris work. Oh, you're catching me off guard. I forgot who do that. Sean Jodicamar related to Jimmy Carter appeal. Only through marriage, Scotty. Tarzan. Banjo. Ensemble. Why, thank you, Michael.
Yep.
I had a lot of fun making those. Here, some fantastic books. Make me glad I'm a collector of them. Fantastic. Thank yous. Thank you so much. It's Tarnzel in stress. Yeah. Very cool that they reprinted the first Tarzan. Yeah, several times. Prince Albert Cam was a phone joke. It turned into that. Why, thank you, Higgy. Those old fellas always on their phones. Okay, I've met the Ice Queen. Yes.
Yeah, that's the one that made me laugh. Jackson's cracking me up.
I think we've met the Ice Queen before. We all scream for Ice Queen. Very cool covers. Thank you. She was my first wife. I don't have a drum I would play that. Horror Mike has one. I need to grab it. So, is the DC Captain Atom run worth picking up and reading? You must be talking about a recent one. I will defer to someone in the chat for that answer. But all right, you've patiently waited through all that. So let's go see our friend from the north, Ranger. What do you have for us?
Yeah. So first of all, thanks for the invite. And when you asked me what did you want to talk about? Of course, my first thing was Western, but you had Charlton 66 announced already at the point doing Western. So, and I think it's a good opportunity because I often talk about my love for Western, but I love comics from all genres, and I collected most of my collection are not Westerns anyway. So I have like 25 long boxes, I think, and maybe 5 of them are Westerns. So I collect all sorts of stuff, but one of the thing I like to collect are giant-sized books, and I think it goes back to my very first comic book I had as a child, which I think was this one. It was a French translation, sorry about the glare, of Spider-Man, done by Édition Héritage, which was a local publisher. And the early issues of these comics were square bounds double issues, all of them. So that's how they presented. So my first comic book were giant size square bound books. So that's how I fell in love with comics. And when I started in my teenage year to collect comics a little more, the first books I was looking for when I went to local comic book shops or comic book shows were the Mighty Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Which were also square bound 25 cents. For a big while. I'm going to show you a few. Oops, sorry.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I love those because they reprinted older stuff. A lot of Kirby, Rawhide Kid went into them, and older Marvel stuff. I'm not going to show all of them. I have almost a full set. I'm just going to go to... There you go. So the first... Sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
So the first 16 issues were giant size. Sorry about the glare. I'm still trying to feel my way here. This is a nice John Severin cover, I
I
think.
was getting ready to say Severin, yeah.
Yeah, nice. And then they were regular size, and its sister title was Western Gunfighters, which also were giant size. And I hunted so bad for. I still missing a few issues, but these are the first comic that, as a not a kid collector, but as almost an adult comic book collector, I hunted down. And the first new book I remember picking up from the old spinner rack in the convenience store that wasn't an older book was a Star Wars Annual #1.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't really see that anytime, but I think a lot of people grabbed it and tucked it away. So
yeah, it's a cover by Walter Simonson. Sadly, didn't do the art inside. So after that, I went into Giants a lot also because, well, back then we didn't have the internet, we didn't have
right.
archives edition or even trade paperbacks. Well, there was the Fireside Marvel books, but aside from that, when you wanted to read Silver Age and Golden Age stuff, you have to buy older books. So reprint book. And the Bronze Age for me were the time when I grew up. I was born in 1965, so I started to read probably around 1970. So I grew up in the Bronze Age, and I think that was the best time for a new comic book collector to learn about the older stuff, because you could read it for cheap.
Yeah.
For 25 cents, you had a 80-page Giant.
Wow. Those are so good. The stories, they're always great.
Yeah. And you what was fun also, it was an anthology, so you got a little bit of everything.
Yes.
If you bought a Batman issue, it was all Batman, but there were a lot of titles where you had a little bit of everything, so there was always something interesting. So I've done a little research here. The giant size for DC actually started in the Silver Age with those 80-page giant. I don't think this is maybe late Silver Age.
That's nice.
With the 80-page giant, and then sorry, I'm looking at my notes there. And then they weren't, by the end of the 60s, they weren't 80-page anymore. They were 64 pages, I think. These are only Batmans. I hope there's not too much glare.
No, that's pretty good.
And in the 70s and 72, they started to do, this is maybe my favorite Batman issue of all time, maybe even one of my favorite comic book of all time. It's a story I remember reading as a kid, The Batman with the Werewolf by Neil Adams. A close up on Neil Adams stuff. I read it in a French translation first, and I remember going to a comic book shop later on, and when I found that issue, I was so happy. I think I paid $5 for that, which was a lot of money back then for a back issue.
I wonder, was that on the newsstands about the same time Spider-Man is fighting Man-Wolf? Or,
that's a good question.
All the Werewolf by Night. I always wonder what triggers somebody else to come up with something somewhere.
And it happened often with Marvel and DC, like with the Doom Patrol and X-Men and Man-Thing and Swamp Thing. They came out about the same time, sometimes only a month apart. So it was 50 cents in the beginning, and after a while it became 60 cents for 100-page. This is one I like also, the Batman with the Shadow.
Yes. And they probably won't reprint that because they don't probably have the rights to the Shadow.
Exactly. So. And the first title I remember really going I was more a Marvel guy as a younger collector. I was a lot into Marvel Westerns and also Marvel monster books. You know, all the Monster on the Prowl, Creatures on the Loose, all those monster reprint books. And I like Batman also because as a kid I used to watch the TV show in this 1966 version. And again, as a late teenager, young adult, one of the first title I wanted to complete that was back issue was the Batman Family because it was all giants.
Yes, George Washington put up quite a fight there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's the first appearance of a lightsaber also.
Yes, yes,
Issue.
it is.
So it was.
Hello, Shannon. Go ahead. No. Show that again. Show that again.
Oh, okay.
I was showing a comment. Oh, wow.
And I think the first few issues, maybe the first year, I'm not sure. It was one news story, and the rest were reprints from the Golden Age mostly.
Yeah.
Then the price went to 60 cents. And my very favorite period was when they became dollar comics.
Yeah.
Because it was all new, and the amount of great artists they had in those. This is a Mike Kaluta cover, I think. Yeah. And they had Michael Golden doing art. Marshall Rogers was doing Batman. A lot of great artists. And did you know that? You probably heard that before. Batman Family was actually the DC title with Batman that sold the most. And at one point, somebody at DC decided, well, we have to cancel some titles, so we're going to cancel Detective Comics.
Right.
Have you heard the story?
Yes.
And somebody said, what? Detective Comics is the name of your company. It's DC Comic for Detective Comics. So what they did was merge Batman Family into Detective Comics. Just going to show a few. With the number 481.
Oh, cool. Guest starring the Punisher.
I think this is a Jim Starlin. Yeah, it says Jim Starlin and Craig Russell Batman story, and down here it says Marshall Rogers on Batman, and I think Michael Golden was doing Man-Bat. And they did this from number 481 until 495. This was the last dollar issue.
Very cool.
I have the full run, but we'll be here all night if I try to show the whole run.
They would love it in the chat, so don't ever worry about that.
And doing my research to prepare tonight, I found an article in an old fanzine that said that the dollar books were really popular for the retailers because the margin of profits was much bigger than regular comics. So they managed to sell comics not just in convenience store on the spinner rack, but also in bookstores, even magazine stores. And the most popular title that among the dollar, because not all comics, of course, were on the dollar comic line. The most popular that outsold everyone was GI Combat, the war books. I think it's because $1 was a lot of money for kids at that time. So I think adults bought more war books and horror books than superhero books. So superhero books like Detective Comics sold well because of Batman was really popular. But yeah. So House of Mystery also became a $1 book at one point.
Yes, it did.
And they introduce stuff to try to grab another public, I think, Time Warp, which were really darker science fiction stories. Great art inside. Sadly, it didn't last very long. And they put out also a short-lived All Out War, I think, to join GI Combat as a dollar magazine. This lasted only 6 issues, I think. And when eBay started, I started buying comic books on eBay because as I was telling you before that we started the show, in Montreal, it's very hard to find vintage book in local comic book shops. So when eBay started, it was a treasure for me because I could hunt down about any comics I wanted. I just had to pay the price of shipping, and back then it wasn't too bad. And comics books, vintage comic books, there was such a big offer of sellers that you could find some cheap stuff really easy. And so one of the first 2 series I went after were also giant size for a lot of the run, was From Beyond the Unknown, which reprinted old sci-fi stories from DC.
Very good. Yeah.
And also the end run of Strange Adventure when it became all reprints.
Yeah.
And again, reprints of my favorite period of science fiction for comic books was the 50s and 60s DC, with new Joe Kubert cover on most of them.
So are you familiar with the term rabbit trail? By reading this comment, he'll
what do you think about Sami Zayn? Not sure I understand.
Canadian wrestler, I believe. So
okay.
I think he's trying to get you off track just for fun. So
I followed wrestling a lot during the mostly 70s and 80s, and then the last 20 years I have no idea who's fighting. And
he says he's Montreal.
He's in Montreal too. Oh wow!
Of course, you can always say I'm from so and so. I think one of my favorites was a guy that. He was the unknown wrestler, he was from Parts Unknown.
Okay.
And of course, his manager says, "That's what they tell the crowd. He's really from Yonkers." So, yeah.
Back in the day, actually, there were a lot of wrestlers from Montreal and from the province of Quebec. The brother Rougeau, and Andre the Giant was a French guy, but he came to Montreal first to do some wrestling, and he became popular, and then he became popular in the United States as well. But a lot of wrestlers came from the province. So and I'll finish the round with these. I think the next giants I went after were the Jack Kirby Fourth World, which all had some giants in the run. First, they were 25 cents for 48 pages. And then, Mr. Miracle is a good point. Mm-hmm. It started as only 25 cents, bigger and better, without numbering the page, but I think it was 48 at this point. I didn't show them in order. Anyway. Then it was 48 big pages for 25 cents.
Yeah.
And I think it's the only time that happened. The page count actually went up 52 pages for 25 cents. But I think I have to check, but I think that maybe when they were talking about 48 pages, they were counting the cover and back cover and all that. And maybe they did when they decided to do and the reason first, I love Jack Kirby, but it was also because in each of the Kirby series, when they were doing giant size, they were reprinted a Kirby series from the Golden Age. So on Jimmy Olsen, it was the Newsboy Legion, as it says on the cover here. And these were great. We didn't have trade paperbacks to read those. On New Gods, it was Manhunter from the Golden Age.
Oh, could you show that a little longer? That
sure. Sorry, I want
great colors on that. Yeah, boy.
And this, I think, was Jack Kirby's favorite story from his old Fort. Well, the Glory Boat story I think a lot of critics also say maybe it was his best New God story. Eric Green, yeah. Okay, thank you, Eric. So for the confirmation, and forever people at the Sandman, Kirby and Simon and Kirby, I should say, from the Golden Age. So I think it's a good time to take a breather and pass it to you.
Okay. Good stuff. Let's see here. And I will kind of change the pace a little bit.
Sure.
But here is Mickey Mouse in Frontierland.
Nice.
And see that big word giant on the side. So,
yeah.
So Jambo was hoping for Westerns.
There you go.
And here on the back cover is Mickey and Donald. And they're being attacked by some wild Indians.
I don't have that one. That's a great back cover. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I've often thought of blowing that up for a nice poster, but
yeah.
Oh well. So here's a Dell Giant for Christmas time.
I have the reprint of that. Gold Key reprinted the same cover, but I don't have the original. Nice.
And that big postage stamp will get your attention. So
yep.
And so here's a DC Western. I showed this last week, but I get to show it again because
Super DC Giant.
Super DC Giant.
I love those. There were 3 issues, I think, of Western from that series.
This guy has it made. Hey, he's rich. Now he can retire. Uh-oh. The guys behind him aren't going to let him retire. And another Western. It's the Dell Giant Dude Ranch.
Oh, yeah. This one I actually bought twice because I didn't remember I already had it. So.
Oh, good. You've got it. Good. This was sent to me by that lovable Charlton 66. I appreciate that.
Nice gift.
I think he also sent this one to me as well. It's a big old Dell Giant.
Oh, yeah. I'm still working on the Disneyland Giants. I think I'm missing 1 or 2.
Great painted covers there.
Yeah.
But since we've got a lot of DC fans out there, how about a little Superman and Batman Giant? Now, I don't know why they didn't call that World's Finest. But
was that back when the Giant series number G something was a separate series that wasn't part of the regular series, or is that a regular Batman issue?
Well, it says issue number 15.
Yeah, I think it was back when it wasn't part of the.
No.
After that, the G after G16 or 15, it became regular issues of the regular series. But before that, it was a whole different series.
These are listed under 80-page Giant. So
there you go.
If you want to be alphabetical, you got to put this before A because it's a number. But
yeah,
I put this with World's Finest. So, but I'm a rebel. So
there you go.
And I put this 80-page Giant with Superman because it's Superman.
Sure.
But your mileage may vary. This is Giant number 6.
I've always liked that robot. I think Kurt Swan designed it, and he reused almost the same model, I think, in the Legion story. And it appeared also in a Jimmy Olsen story, I think, or some very similar.
Another change of pace. Here's Tarzan.
Nice.
A giant comic, it says.
Can never go wrong with a gorilla on the cover.
And here's the back cover.
Wow. You could frame that.
And let's see, another Dell Giant, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, back to school.
Yeah, a few of those.
And the Vacation Parade.
Yeah, nice.
That's number 2. That was Carl Buechner cover art. Here is number 4
Uh-oh.
as everything goes collapsing over there. And this is a 25-cent version, it says here on the back. Apparently there was a 35-cent version they were trying out. As
Yeah. I've heard of those. Never seen any though.
I tell you what, let me go to you for show about 3 books while I pick up these things that fell.
Sure. Okay. In honor of Charlton 66, I'm going to show a few. I don't know if he's here tonight. I'm going to show a few books from the 1958 year when Charlton experimented with various giant-sized books. It started actually in 57. They added a series. I don't have any copies of that series, but they had a series called Giant Comics, which were only 3 issues. I never find any issues anywhere. So, and then they started doing 68 pages for 15 cents. So among the first batch that came out, somebody, Jambo was asking for Western. Here's a little bit more. Cheyenne Kid, 15 cents. And I think, no, that's not the one. The art and stories inside are pretty good, which was not always the case with the Charlton Giants. Most of them had very rushed. That's a very good example. Here's Hot Rods and Racing Cars.
All right.
I've read this, and it's so boring. None of the stories are fun. The cars don't look cool. I think who was the guy who worked at Charlton was very good at drawing racing cars. He also drew Kid Coke for a long time. I have his name at the tip of the tongue. Anyway, he wasn't doing race cars at that point, and I'm just gonna show. Try to show. Sorry, I have. It's not great art, and the stories are not interesting. Maybe I'm not into cars, but still, I think I can read some good racing car stories. And Westerns never disappoint me.
Yeah.
That was a good deal. A thick book like this, 80.
You bet.
80-something page for 15 cents.
That'll
Back
teach
when
that.
comics were 10 cents for 2D2 pages, I think. Of course, Dell did it better because they had no ads, almost no ads in their books, and Charlton had tons of ads.
Wow, Bill Hickok.
Yeah. The name of the series is actually Cowboy Western. This was a TV series I found out later. With jingles. This was another issue where I was disappointed. Fighting Army. I think they were so rushed into pushing giant-sized books, and it's all new stories. That's another thing. And sometimes the stories are 2 pages long, 3 pages long, and they try to cram as many stories they could in those thick giants. And most stories don't make sense. There's no plot resolved, or I'm sometimes thinking maybe there's a page missing because the story don't make sense. But it's complete. I've counted the pages and everything is all there.
Oh. Just do one more. I'll finish my round. So, yeah. Nice, Navy.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thank you for covering for me. Let me see if I can switch this. Hey, look, that works. All right. So, none of these got damaged, but my whole little table fell over. Here's an Archie Giant.
Right. I didn't think about the Archie Giant. I have a whole bunch of them, too. That's a nice one.
Yeah. Archie sure had it made there, didn't he?
Yeah.
So,
are you more Betty or Veronica type?
Betty.
Yeah,
Betty.
me too.
Here's a Conan. Now it's king size. It probably doesn't count, but
Sure, it counts.
I grabbed it, so I didn't think anyone would mind seeing Conan. So, and it's a really good story. So,
Were these were reprints? No, are these reprints from early Barry Windsor Smith stories?
yeah. I believe so. And
With
the
a
front,
new cover, I think.
well, the front cover is Barry Windsor Smith.
Yeah, but it's all new. It's very nice.
They may have redesigned it. I'll have to double check. So you remember that Tarzan I showed you? Well, there's a couple more. A giant comic.
I don't have any of them in my collection yet.
This would be kind of terrifying if you had little kids playing outside. You had a leopard up in the tree. And the back cover is Russ Manning's artwork of Tarzan going by.
Do you have a favorite Tarzan artist?
Oh,
it's a hard choice.
It's hard to say. I wanted to show this great art on the interior back flap.
Wow.
That probably doesn't get seen very much, but that's a balancing act.
Yeah.
So, anybody that can paint like that, I'm a fan of. But Russ Manning gets notoriety from his Dell and Gold Key, especially when he did Korak. Okay, here's the interior first page.
Nice.
So, just trying to show things that don't often get shown.
Yeah.
Another giant comic.
How many were there of those Tarzan Jungle?
I don't know. I've got about 4 or 5. Of course, this one's got a nice little wrinkle in the cover, but I still think it's pretty swell.
Sure.
And what do you see the back cover?
Wow. That's spectacular.
I'm glad they put it there so I get to see it. But on the other hand, if you go to all this work to paint this beautiful picture and they say, we're going to put that on the back of the book.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd be ready to fight or.
Very good observation.
But here's the interior front. A lot of ink, a lot of inking. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know who drew it?
Not offhand.
No. Okay.
Not offhand. I would say Russ Manning, but that's just a guess.
Nice.
And one more. Wow. A giant comic.
That's a cool one. That's a good front cover.
Hey, I'm running for my life.
Yeah. I noticed that Tarzan rarely appears on the front cover on those.
On these giants, yeah.
I know, yeah.
Here's the back cover to that. The gray ape.
Huh.
I'll check the interior. I never was. Wait a minute. Yeah, it's the ape English language page.
Okay.
I never. I mean, somebody like a Meyer Greenblatt probably liked that. But to me, it was like, just show me some art. I don't want to pretend to talk to an ape, because I know if I go to my zoo and I start saying all these words, that ape's not going to understand a word I'm saying. So, but I'm cynical. Where did I leave off here? Okay. I'm excited to read yet. What they're asking about, there was a new Dick Tracy came out. Interesting art on the cover. Eric Breen showed me a picture of it today.
Oh.
And he's read it. And so these days there's certain things you have to worry about when you pick up a new book. Are they going to tell me how to behave and be a good citizen of the world and blah, blah, blah. We just want a good adventure story. Well, apparently Eric says this one is just, is just a good adventure. So Tame Indians don't attack. Well, we hope not. But it worked for Eric, so they were having a little Dick Tracy conversation. Gotta love Woody. That must be the Woody I showed before my table collapsed. It's a brand new Dick Tracy, I believe. Nice color. I forgot this Mandela effect got me. Where Minnie Mouse has a tail, or are we in the no-tail universe? Because of her dress, I don't know if they ever drew her tail. I know in the 1950s they stopped drawing the tail on Mickey. They said it will save time. But to me, how long does it take to just do that real quick? But I don't know. They couldn't wait in the 50s to dress Mickey up in pants and make him look like a Bing Crosby character. He was an adventurer wearing red shorts and getting in trouble and talking tough. But they really changed him in there.
The one thing I never understood is the white gloves. Sometimes he didn't have. He just had like shorts and suspenders and white gloves. Why the white gloves?
Yeah. If I had one or two of the pieces of comics I have to read fell over, you'd not hear from me in 5 minutes. Yeah. I follow my 80-page giants under E because I am a rebel. Good for you.
There you go.
Good for you. Very cool hot rod cover.
Yeah, the cover is cool, but the story inside, like I said, were very disappointing.
You heard it here first. Ranger recommends the stories page to page. Every page. Not every strip of Hot Rod was by Jack Keller.
Jack Keller. That's the name I was thinking.
You show those 80-pagers thing.
I knew Paulo would remember the name.
Very cool books, Ranger.
Thank you, Michael.
King size. I know. I worried about that. See, I knew someone would notice.
Yeah, Jackson.
I did it anyway. Love that Conan. Well, good. So I'm glad I did. So, that's the leopard they're talking about. Cool Tarzans. Glad you showed them. Well, you probably figured it out, comic book creator. I am a Tarzan guy. This YouTube JD. Loved elephant covers, right, Legend? Okay, he's talking to him. The apes in the zoo aren't civilized enough to have learned that language. Yeah, I should show them my book, and then I'll leave it with them and say, I'll come back later when you guys are brushed up on that. So thank you, Michael. The ape language is a key part of the myth. Yes, I know. But I want to see a drawing. But I still have my Mickey Mouse trash can from the early 70s. It's metal.
Nice.
It will last forever. Of course, Mickey was a lot thinner originally. He was a fighter, and he wanted to be an airplane pilot. Sang a Western song on Beach short videos. Now I need to sing the Tarzan song for you. Why, sure, go ahead. We're listening. I don't know. This is probably from the movie or something. All right, I kind of interrupted. Do you want to show a few more at that time? And I've still got a pretty good stack, so we're still going.
Cool. So the experiment for Charlton only lasted a year. From the end of 1957 to 1958. Wyatt Earp. Lash LaRue.
Wow.
Westerns.
I don't recall seeing a Lash LaRue. Boy.
I think there were 2 issues of Lash LaRue in giant size. And then after I only have one of the 100 pagers. How many did they do? So yeah, there were 36 Charlton comics that were 15 cents giants, and only 9 after that were 25 cents giant thick book, 100 pages. That's 1958. So Dell was already near the end, and Dell had been doing 100 pages, no ads, and there's a lot of ads in the Charlton book. So
there could be a collector that just collects those giants with that that
Well,
spine you're showing, the rope, and the one I showed of the guns.
yeah, like yeah. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if they did it. Yeah, you're right. I had not noticed that they did for the all the Western man. I've never noticed that before.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Okay.
like some crazy people want all the checkerboards for some reason,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Well,
But
I want all the Charlton Giants because I don't want to collect, like, especially the racing cars. The only one I really would be the one with Jack Keller art inside, because the few I've read were actually also good stories. Um, but I think it's a good way to have a sample in your collection without trying to buy the whole series, because some of these series lasted for 100 issues and more. So yeah, and next thing I wanted to show, now there'll be Art of Order, where the few gold key giants I have.
yeah, are you saying they're going to be out of order?
Yeah, I have
Oh,
like this
J-
size pile.
I'm sure Jackson Roy Kirk will let that slide this time.
So Golki in 1962 started to make comics with their Western Publishing, which has been doing deals with Dell, were publishing their stuff. But Western Publishing was the one packaging the books, and they decided to sell them on their own with the Golki in print. And when they started in 1962, quite a few, the first 8 books that came out in June 1962. 4 of the 8 books were giants. I'm trying to put them in order. Oh, what the heck? I'm going to show a few. This is one of my favorite.
Oh,
Anna
yes.
Barbara Bandwagon. They have all my favorite Anna Barbara characters. I love the more obscure one from the 60s, like Lippy the Lion, Touche Turtle, Wally Gator, and most of them never had their own comics. I think Lippy the Lion had 1 issue. I don't think Wally had his own comic book.
No, not that I know of, unless it was a Dell that I never saw.
Yeah, I don't think so. It's just the first issue.
Oh, that's Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky and his Fiendish Friend, which was actually a separate series from the Rocky Bullwinkle comic book. This lasted
5 issues, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And the first 3, I think, are giants. This was fun to read. And most of the Gold Key giants also, I noticed that they often put an extra title, like this is the series is called Rocky and his Fiendish Friend, and this one is in Hollywood. This is number 2, I think. This is a book. I'm gonna remove it from the bag because the bag is kind of shitty. Excuse my French. I've been hunting for that book for a long time. Little Lulu Christmas Diary.
Is that a photograph or is that just a really good painting?
No, it's a photograph with like pseudo kid cartoons.
Yeah. Interesting.
And the back cover is pretty much the same. At that time, Gold Key was just putting a virgin cover on the back cover. Christmas Parade.
Fireball, where have you been?
Number 1.
Nice. Very nice.
And I'm gonna kind of bring.
Hey, there you go.
Your Woody Woodpecker. Like I said, this is a reprint Gold Key. It's not the original Dell, which I didn't know when I bought it, and I was a little bit bummed when I've learned that it was only a reprint. But it's a very nice copy, so it stays in my collection. This is another Bandwagon.
Yes, I believe that one will have Mr. and Mrs. J Evil Scientist in it.
It's possible.
if that's number 2.
Yeah, it's number 2.
Well, you don't have to find them. I'm just thinking they started showing up in a couple of bandwagons. So
Is that these guys?
yes.
Okay,
That's
they're
her. She's taller than him. Yeah. He's
part
like-
of the Snagglepuss story.
Yes, that's right.
Did they appear in the cartoon as well?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't remember them. While I was flipping the book, unfortunately, a corner that was ended fell down. Yeah. Happens. So this is a good example. It's a series I'm not a big fan of Tom and Jerry, so I don't want to collect Tom and Jerry, but I'll have a couple of giant size just to have a sample in my collection. Another cover I like is this one, Terry Toons. Sorry about the glare. TV Times.
Very nice.
With Elko and Jekyll putting mustaches.
You bet. Yeah.
On Deputy Dog, what's the name of the elephant?
Oh,
Sydney? Is that Sydney?
I think so. And he talks with the lisp. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't remember the character here.
Right.
Heather Heathcote, I think, something like that. Heathcote, something. This is Woody.
Robert, if they're blank, I think they're Canadian, and they weren't able to pronounce the advertisement in the book. What do you think?
Exactly.
Rachel? Okay, good. Look at there. I never see that anywhere.
And not only the Dell, I have a few old Western books that the Canadian edition didn't have the ads inside.
Yeah.
I think it was a rule from the and
Hello, Dr. Pipes.
This is my favorite Hanna-Barbera character, Quick Draw McGraw.
Oh, I got to go find that because that's got Augie Doggy on it.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they only did this for a year, but after that, there were still a few giants that came in later, but they weren't 80 pages. I think this must be like 60 page maybe.
That Bugs Bunny caption is from Looney Tunes, and the others are just probably from stories.
Yeah. Reprints, you mean?
Or interior, what I mean. Yeah.
And this was a fun thing I found. It's a souvenir comic book from the New York World's Fair.
Yes. And that's what I'm going to show next.
Okay.
If you're ready. So
yeah,
okay.
We can go back. I have the last run. I'll have some Dells too. So
fantastic. Before I look at the chat, I just wanted you to know, here's mine.
Yeah.
Now mine is the third printing. So
okay.
Apparently there were 3 of those. I guess it just printed so good. The 1965 World's Fair. I even have a 10 of this hanging in a wall in the other room. They made this into a decorative 10 poster, size of a comic. So I do a walkthrough of my house. Well, a few rooms in my house. A few years ago, that's where people could see it. Let's see in the chat. We have Fireball, Me Too. Missing Mars, you forgot about this show? My goodness. I need to get all your guys' email and send you alerts. Okay. And the library is here. I agree. They look beautiful. Hello, Dr. Fibes. Hello, Michael. Very cool Flintstones at the World's Fair. It sure was. Have a lot of Dell that have no ads in them. Well, early on, Dell didn't have ads, so that they might just be older. Love the Flintstones. I agree. I walked through GM's house. He didn't know it at the time. He should have said something. He should have. I'm not very observant, Jackson. Very cool gold keys, Ranger. Excellent. All
Thank
right.
you.
So more of the Archie Giant. Here's Madhouse Glads. When something
Never saw this one.
scary stuff is happening. Look how frightened she is. She's almost Veronica, you know. Another Madhouse Glads.
What does glads mean in that context? Madhouse glads?
I think early on, Mad Magazine didn't like this. And so they were trying to, I don't know, distract and go, no, we mean mad, glad, sad. You know, I
Okay.
think, but I can't be sure.
I never saw those Madhouse glads.
And a
Christmas
giant.
books.
Looks
My
like
favorite.
Betty has wrapped herself up, and Veronica doesn't think that's a great idea. Check out Veronica's pants, boy. That's distracting.
You could play tic-tac-toe on them.
And her top outfit looks like she could play keyboard for the Partridge Family. All right, I'm glad somebody's laughing at my jokes. This is great. So we should have you on more. Here's another giant. Everything's Archie. And it's a bicycle polo, it looks like.
Okay. Was that really a thing back then, you think?
I don't know. I don't know. I think they said, can we really draw horses for an Archie? I think they said,
horses are hard.
Yeah, let's make it bicycles. We got to make it believable. Giant size Jughead. Jughead has to go to his summer job. He can't mow the lawn. And the summer job is a boat. So, but he's not lying. And a giant size little Archie.
Oh, nice.
With a good looking cave girl there for Jambo.
Yeah, in Little Archie. That's almost spicy.
Giant size World of Archie.
It's good you thought about the giant Archie because I completely forgot I had a big pile of them too.
Giant World of Archie. See, you see all these toys and magazines he has on his nightstand. Yeah. And he's dreaming about outer space.
Merchandising. Even back then.
Oh, yeah. Giant size Josie and the Pussycats. And this one is a scary, the Headless Man. She is trapped in quicksand. Oh, no. Jackson Roykirk might have some nightmares after that one.
Sorry, Jackson.
And giant size superhero special.
Oh, cool. Cool.
And the Archie's Madhouse Annual.
Thanks.
Unfortunately, they had a little accident on the title there, but
was that a tape pull?
I suspect so because it's almost centered in the whole book. So
yeah,
but
it's too bad.
That's the way I got it. So another Archie's Madhouse Annual, and I love this one because look at all these monsters, even a buzzard, vulture, or whatever. And, we saw Veronica's pants earlier. This guy's jacket would probably make it interesting. And his matching hat. Boy, I tell you. Check out this lady.
Almost like the EC witch.
You bet.
I don't mind getting a damaged book in my collection. What I pisses me off is when I tape pull myself, or if I damage my book myself. I get so pissed off. Sometimes I just want to throw the comic book, but I'm fine with buying low grades.
Oh
anytime,
yeah.
But if I made my own book low grade because of my stupidity, or then it's anyway, sorry.
No,
Carry on.
I think that probably happens to a good majority of us from time to time. Giant Size Archie's pals and gals, and Jughead is watching a little TV. Yeah, let that thing focus. How close do I have to get for it to focus? I don't know. Well, maybe it never will. So anyway, I was hoping we could see who's on the TV, but
yeah. What's on?
It's a guy holding up a product, so it's a commercial. So
okay. I know he's not yet. Yeah, no, it's focused.
And Veronica's wearing the green striped. I'm giving commentary on the fashions, but all right. Let's see. What did we miss in the chat while I was doing that? Looks like Jambo's back. Love the Flintstones. Very cool gold key.
Thank you.
Is on, but I was asleep. Uh-oh. Glads could also mean jokes. Okay. Thank you. That was a better explanation than what I gave. Those are hot. Her pants look like wrapping paper. Yeah. Yeah. Don't knock the threads, man. Nice cave girl. I knew you were awake, Jambo.
Mm-hmm.
Good to see you guys. Jambo, I got your package. I mentioned it earlier. I'll open it and show probably next week. So stay tuned to see who my guest is for next week. Dale, Christmas comics are harder to find for a decent price. Okay.
Yeah.
No nightmares here. We're safe. Neither Jambo nor Eric are on the screen. Gotta love that green-headed character on the Archie cover. Yes. Jambo. Yeah. Jackson misses picking at us. Yes, he does. He's got a lot of catching up to do. Jackson has not had internet for about a month. Good to see you as well, Jambo. Low grades were loved. They sure were. I'm learning all kind of new French words tonight. Hey, MT, Jackson, and the rest of the gang. I use the green masking tape, okay? Yep. Very cool books, Graphic Man. Why, thank you so much. And at this point, before you show your last round, when I do these shows, a one-on-one, I try to ask a little more intimate questions. So in your neck of the woods, I would guess it's predominantly French speaking. And how far would I need to travel from your place right now to where I would be in a place where no one would understand me because I'm speaking English?
Maybe an hour drive from Montreal, you'd be in all French country. The province of Quebec is a very largely majority of French-speaking people. But I live in Montreal, and Montreal in the surrounding Montreal is an island, and all the small towns or even bigger towns around Montreal are pretty much like Montreal, bilingual. Montreal is probably the place with most English-speaking people in Quebec. It's maybe, I would say, maybe 70% or 65% French and 35% English. But most people, especially from my generation and younger, speak both language in Montreal, at least. Not the rest of the province, but in Montreal, most people speak both language, I think. And the part of Montreal where I live is called NDG. It's for Notre-Dame-de-Grâce. It's a French name, but it's actually a very Anglophone sector of the city. So yeah, Montreal is probably your best bet. Even some people say that they can function just in English in Montreal because most people working in stores and shops and all that speak both language.
Okay.
If you go to the hospital, you'll get served in both French and English, no problem in Montreal. Same about everywhere. There's
Okay.
2 English university in Montreal. There's McGill, which is very renowned around the world, and there's Concordia University. There's a few what we call college here, but it's not college in the United States. It's almost the same thing as university, right? If you say college, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And here, college is like the school level just below university. You have elementary school, then high school, then college, or what we call here is cégep, which is college, and then you have university. And there's 2 university in English in Montreal, so it's not too bad for English-speaking people. There's 4 hospital, I think, which mainly serve English-speaking population, and that's about the same amount of hospital than French have. So.
And Michael wants to know, how far are you from the falls? I think Niagara Falls.
Niagara Falls is pretty a few hours from here.
'Cause you're in Montreal. So,
Yeah, it's in Ontario. It's not the same province, but
right.
I don't know. I've never been to Niagara Falls. Maybe 2 or 3 hours at least, maybe more.
Okay.
Not sure.
So when I was a younger man, there was talk that Quebec wanted to leave Canada and
Yeah.
join with the. So how close was that to almost happening, or was it never ever going to happen? Canada wasn't going to ever allow that, and it was just a bunch of people talking. Or do you think it came close? Were you one of the people that were, yeah, let's go France?
Yeah, I was what they call nationalist here. I was for separation from Canada as
Okay.
a friend. Yeah, I even work as a student. I was a student back then for the first referendum, which was in 1980, I think.
Okay.
And the no, so the vote to stay in Canada was maybe something like 60-40, something like that. Because most French people thought, well, we're going to give Canada another chance to see, because we were promised reforms and all that. So, but there were no change. So there was a second referendum where it came to like 51-49. So it came pretty close.
Whoa.
And what pissed off a lot of francophones is that the government of Canada started to flow immigration to Quebec, because immigrants who comes to Canada mostly start to speak English already. And when you're an immigrant that you come to Canada, you don't want to arrive and then separate already with the country you just chose. So the government accelerated the flow of immigration and in Quebec particularly. And so yeah, the vote was 51-49. I don't think we'll ever separate, because now the tendency goes down. The younger generation is not that much into separation and all that.
But
So
you yourself would have gladly gone and considered yourself French instead of Canadian.
no, we don't consider ourselves as French. We speak French, but we actually often make fun of French people from France who come to hear. Yeah.
Okay.
We find them snobs often and pretentious and all that. No, it's just a language thing. It has nothing to do with our
So
ancestor identity with France, because we most of French speaking people, if you learn about history, we actually still pissed off at France because we felt that they abandoned us. They started a
okay.
colony here in the 19 something, and it wasn't bringing enough money for France, and they decided to leave us to the English. And so we're still pissed off a bit about being being abandoned by France.
So
Back then.
you would have considered yourself like the Commonwealth of Quebec, or a entity unto itself.
Yeah, just Quebec as a we have a pretty different cultural and identity than the rest of Canada.
Right.
On many levels. We still have the French. The where our laws are based more on the French system that used to be than the rest of Canada, which is based on the British law system. So it's not the
Okay.
same laws. And culturally, I love growing up in Quebec because I was exposed to much more different cultures than I think the rest of Canada, because as French speaking, we didn't have many books or magazine in the old days, so we used to import a lot from Europe, from France, from Belgium, and also the TV shows and the movies were coming from France and Belgium and the other countries of Europe. And we still got also, as the rest of Canada, American culture, American TV show, music. So we had music from France, from Europe, from all over the world. And I don't think, maybe Robert Harrison could correct me on that because he's from Toronto, but I don't think they were exposed as much to, at least in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, to the culture from outside Canada and the US.
So my Asterix books are in English, of course. Are yours in English or in French?
No, in French.
Okay. So Jambo was asking, what got you into Westerns and TVs and movies and books?
I've always liked Westerns since I was a kid. I grew up like most of you guys, I think, watching. It was the end of the Western TV shows in the 70s. And my father was a big Western fan. That I think that was the main influence. My father's favorite TV show, I think, was Bonanza and Gunsmoke and stuff like that. He also liked cop show like Mannix and Adam 12 and all that. But I remember watching with him Bonanza on, I think it was on Thursday night here in French. We saw the French translation of these shows. And of course, as a kid, my first toy I remember wanting for Christmas was a cap gun and holster to play cowboys in the streets of Montreal. So yeah, that's about it. And after that, when I went to the movies, there were still some Western movies showing on TV also. My first star crush, I would think, the first person I was a fan of was Audie Murphy, because there was a local TV station was showing old Audie Murphy shows from film from the 50s. And I loved them so much. And then I learned later on that he was a war hero, and
Yes.
he was a real tough guy and not just pretending to be a tough guy. So,
Right.
so
Scotty here is asking about Lucky Luke. Paulo, from a European standpoint, says it's Tintin, Asterix, and Lucky Luke. A 1, 2, 3. Is that similar to your approach? Okay.
These are the three most popular. If you ask most French kids of my age what they read as a kid, will be that Tintin, Asterix, Lucky Luke. That's about it. There was also a very popular series called Gary Cooper, I think, which was a Canadian pilot, but the series was published in French from French artists. They decided to make a Canadian character, and he was a fighter pilot. I think it was that Gary Cooper. No, Gary Cooper is the actor.
Right. I was going to ask you that.
Dan Cooper, I think. Dan Cooper.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you for going into some basically Quebec details for us. Adam 12 lunchbox in the 70s. Yes, I have a Adam 12 comic. I think there were like 5 of those. I love a good cop show. Um, but uh, one day I'll talk to you about Asterix. For example, I'm always curious how things are translated. The English version of one Asterix story, he gets on the boat with these guys that take them place to place. You'd probably recognize the character, and they make a joke about one guy going into business as a boat captain, and he used to be a salesman selling products. And the gag was that works in English. I'm a better salesman, like the sale of a boat, than a salesman selling merchandise. And I always wondered, did they even try that in France or the French?
No, I think they must have come up with a new joke, because Asterix was very language oriented, very in French we call it jeu de mots, play on words.
Right.
So I wonder I wonder myself how they translate the humor of Asterix in English, because it's very based on the fun play with the French language. And so I never read or translated the story of Asterix in English, so I wouldn't know how they do it. But the one you just explained, I would think they made a new joke, because it doesn't translate well to French.
And what I told you was the English British. They made an American version that a little smaller, and that joke is totally gone. It's a totally different translation. And I thought that's unfortunate. One more before we get back to our Giants. I don't want to steer this too much into Asterix, but the one where they meet the guys from England. You're familiar with that story.
Yeah.
Of course, the British guy comes and meets the chief, and the chief sits up high on his little chair that he has to climb a ladder.
Yeah.
And the British guy is named Brass Tacks.
Okay.
Of course, don't know what his name in French would be, but in English it's Brass Tacks. And Obelix says, "Don't you want to come down to Brass Tacks?" Meaning, come down from your high seat and talk to Brass Tacks. So in English, getting down to Brass Tacks would mean let's get down to business. Let's get down to the real nitty gritty.
Okay.
And I thought that pun probably didn't fly in any other language, because it's translated all over the world. But
no, because I know the character you're referring to. I think the album is called in French. It's called Astérix et les Bretons.
Yeah,
and the Bretons are not really in French. When you say Breton, is a part of a region of northern France where they have people called Breton. I think they're originally more a Celtic origin than the rest of France. But that album was about Asterix traveling to the British Isles, so they decided to call them Breton as well.
Yeah.
And the character you named Brass Tacks, I think is named Joli Thorax in French, which means beautiful chest or something like that. It doesn't translate well, so the joke must have been totally different.
Yes.
Thorax, there you go. Paulo confirms it. And Paulo also made a comment earlier about Buck Danny. He was right. Buck Danny was a more popular even pilot character even here in Quebec than Dan Cooper. And Buck Danny was basically a copy of oh man, my memory is tired tonight. What's the name of the famous cartoon strips about an aviator done by the guy who did Terry and the Pirates? The series he did after Terry and the Pirates.
Steve Canyon.
Steve Canyon. And Buck Danny was, I think, a lot inspired by Steve Canyon, but it was set first. Buck Danny was a fighter pilot in the Second World War against the Japanese, and then his adventures continued, I think, in Korea and all that. Wow. But Paulo is right. Buck Danny was even more popular than Dan Cooper, who was supposed to be a Canadian hero, and Buck Danny was an American, and it was much more popular when I was a kid. The young reader would much prefer Buck Danny over Dan Cooper.
Okay. Well, Fireball says we need to get back to the books, and so I agree with him. I'll do a big round here, and then we'll end on
Okay.
what you have. So I trust they're going to like this. So sticking with the word giant, I've got the giant size
Oh, yeah.
supervillain team up, Doctor Doom and the Submariner. Submariner's wearing his great little outfit. See, once again, I'm giving fashion play-by-play. Now, Hart, let's
I
have some
actually
Harvey.
love that outfit.
Yes. Let's have some Harvey Giant.
Oh, I didn't think about RVs either. Man.
Got a few of these.
I don't
These
have
look-
many RVs yet. I just started to collect because of Captain Strange Life. He made me want to dip into the RVs.
This is a giant Casper and Nightmare.
Was Nightmare ever in the cartoons also? I don't remember him at all.
I didn't really watch the cartoon, so I couldn't answer
No?
that.
Okay.
I'm a few years younger than you, so we might have been seeing things at different times.
Yeah, but the RV cartoons were old even when I was watching them as kids, so in reruns.
There's a couple of paratroopers in the audience watching this. All right, so king size.
King size animal. Is that
Man.
Kirby? No. Is that Kirby? No, I don't think so. Manting. I didn't know a Manting had appeared.
I've got Rich Buckler on the inside.
Which
but
Butler makes sense, yeah.
I don't know who did the cover. So, yeah, Buckler. He signed it. So,
Okay.
yep. Rich Buckler. Here's a giant size Avengers.
Yes, that's a good one.
And if you're an Avengers fan, you're going to like next week's episode. Here's giant size Fantastic Four with some totally wild stories. If you're a FF fan like I am, then all of a sudden these giant size came out. They're really weird,
Yeah.
but I like them.
Madrox.
And here's a king size. It's number 2, Doctor Doom.
Wow. Nice.
I love this book. The Kirby art and the Doctor Doom stuff is really good. Here's a more Kirby for you, number 6.
I actually didn't like the Fantastic Four as a kid because I came in on after Kirby left, and as you said, I thought the stories were weird. I had trouble following, and there were so many characters because at that point Sue Storm was pregnant or having a baby, and Crystal was in the team, and it was very hard for me to focus on what was happening, and I fell in love with Fantastic Four much later when I read the Kirby reprints, and
Yeah.
it made more sense to me. And
Did you guys up there get the little bitty paperback that prints the first 6 Fantastic Four stories?
I don't know if we're talking about the same. But I remember having some of the paperbacks. Yes, with the which year would have these have come out?
I don't know, but they would be all in color, and
Okay.
it's a cover from the 1970s, but in the interior of the book, it's a yellow cover.
Okay.
It has all 6, and those are the dynamite. The first 6 issues are fantastic.
Okay.
Sorry to use the word fantastic describing the Fantastic Four, but really, they really were fantastic. Or get that Treasury edition number 2 that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
does the Galactus. Those are good introductions to the Fantastic Four. So unfortunately, you hit them at a weird in between stage.
yeah.
Uh, but after that, they got a little John Buscema, and then they settled down after a while. If you could find some of these king size annuals, those are good too. Um,
Well, I have the Masterworks edition now of the Kirby years. So
yeah. And I think that's what I have for tonight. So we
okay.
will we will go to you after I check out a few chats here. Okay. Speaking of Ed Sullivan, the Doors about a line they use. Yes. Yeah, they didn't like Light My Fire, Michael.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
yeah.
the song.
I remember that.
All these comics, yeah. Richie Rich cartoons in the 80s, he looked different. Yeah, the cartoon had a red shirt with the no. That wasn't the Richie Rich. I wanted the bow tie and the little blue shorts. Golden's the giant size FFs were weird. Yeah. I thought they were. I really did, but and boring too.
Were they written by Steven Engelhart? Because he wrote some weird stuff for Marvel at the time.
I will look that up and I will find
Okay.
that out in the meantime. By the way, we were asked way early in the broadcast. I don't know if it was Comic Curator or who asked, but somebody asked me about who drew the cover to this. That was Roy Krinkle.
Oh, okay.
So Roy Krinkle did a lot of Ace paperback stuff. But let me get back to the chat. Here's Lead Paint. Graphic Man casually pulls out FF Annual 2. Well, I don't have number 1, but I like number 2. This first number 1 Submariner. This one's Doctor Doom. I think number 2 is a little better. Really need the rim shot sound on this channel. Yeah. Not the same without Maranya. I don't know. I don't know where people are. Very cool books, Graphic Man. Why, thank you very much, Michael. And so now for our big grand finish, we will go to Ranger Sly. And he's going to dazzle us. As Jackson Roykirk says, some of the Giant Says FFs were by Jerry Conway, Chris Claremont, and maybe Roy Thomas.
Okay. I'm gonna show now the Dells Davy Crockett's. I'll try not to show the same as you did.
Oh no, you can repeat. I don't mind.
I remember showing this one the first time I came on the Fossil show, I think, but I think it warrants another show. The Walt Disney Christmas Parade #1.
Marvelous.
And this is the issue I bought from a collection that came with the. I forgot to pull the certificate. It's in the other box. But it came from the Carl Barks collection.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I paid $25, and it's really good, in good shape. The corner is a bit bent here, but I think that's about it.
And hello to Cheap Comic Collector joining us.
Hey, CCC.
Oh, by the way, you asked earlier, Ranger. This book that I showed was written by Jerry Conway. So
okay, so. You could write some weird stuff as well.
Yes.
Another Disneyland.
Wonderful.
This one has a stamp on it that says the Stevens collection of Disneyana. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with this guy. Christmas books are always a must.
Yes.
In my collection. Now, that's a true breeding.
Hey, that's right.
Like I said, I bought 2 copies. I think I might have sent one in an AOK to was it Surf Blue, maybe? Another Christmas one.
Oh, that's a great one. have gone up the chimney. Love that. Lead paint is liking your Dells.
Bugs Bunny Beach Party.
Yep. Defying Gravity.
Yeah. Another Disneyland book.
Nice.
I'm sorry, I should have removed the plastics.
Oh, no.
Remove it.
They're showing up good. Christmas at Disneyland.
Yeah.
And that back cover, I have it on a thick Christmas book. And I now I see where they got it from.
I think it was the red Christmas tree was also in the old TV show. No, the first
could have been
Disneyland TV show where they showed parts of Disneyland. I think it was called at the time. And I remember the red Christmas tree, which I thought was weird.
But your back cover is what I was referring to.
Oh, okay, this one.
Yeah, they reprint that on a much bigger book called Christmas Parade. It's a big red, it's a red book, thick, and now I see where they got the image from. They got it from that book, probably. So,
yeah,
it's great. It's a great illustration. Be a great little poster for children's room or something.
Yeah, or painting on the wall. Another Christmas one.
Oh, nice. Nice. No one would put their couch right there in front of the fireplace, though.
So close, yeah.
Yes.
I have a few also back to school.
Wonderful.
Since I work as an elementary school, so I'm drawn to.
Is that the one I think that's the one I showed earlier? Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You showed this one.
Wonderful.
I have a few of them. I think I bought all at the same time in the same lot. They're pretty much all the same. They're the three boys with apples.
Yes.
Somewhere in the cover. Did you show this one too? Vacation
No.
Parade? Oh, you showed one. But,
number 2 is what I showed. It has a yellow cover, but.
And the back cover is different.
Wonderful. Little Hiawatha's on there. Wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Wow.
Daisy. It's a weird team up. Daisy, Duck, and Uncle Scrooge.
No, and that big corner red will get your attention. Wow.
Yeah. And strangely, they did a second one with Daisy and Uncle Scrooge.
Wow.
Team up. And just for the captain, if he's in the audience, nice cornflake ad.
That is a nice ad. It's got great characters and Huckleberry's wearing a little like a sailor hat, but it's orange or brown.
It's red, I think, or very orange red.
Yeah.
Might be my camera who is not.
Well, also my old eyes too. So.
No, but the image I see, I think it's the color a little bit distorted.
Wow.
I should have shown the back cover all of them. And I pulled them out, but I'm not going to show all of them. I have a full run of Western Roundup, which were the first Dell I went after. Big 100 pages of Westerns.
You know, those should have sold very nicely because, like, I'm a Roy fan. Steve is a Gene Autry fan. You got to get your guy, and so you got to buy that book. So even though he's only in like 1/5 of the book, so
exactly. Yeah. And I'm just gonna try to find a nicer one. This one I like.
Yeah.
All the faces with the rifles.
The guns are the picture frame. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Thank you, Gotham City.
I'm gonna try to show. by the end of the, I'm just gonna show a few more. Because most of them only have the floating heads.
Wow.
I'm trying to find some with some action.
So is that was that Mrs. Rogers there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dale
Wonderful.
Evans, which
Yep.
I don't know why, but she never appeared with Roy in any of the Dale books.
She was licensed for DC for a little while.
Yeah, but
And
I would
yeah.
guess that after that, when Dale finally got her license too, that they would team up in the book, but nope. They never put them together.
No.
She became a backup story in the Roy Rogers comics near the end of the run, and they were all drawn by Russ Manning with beautiful art and a beautiful likeness of her. I'm gonna show some with the more exciting cover.
Yeah.
See, by the end, they were starting to incorporate not just cowboys, be Western Star, but also TV shows. Here you say Buffalo Bill Jr., which was a TV show.
Yeah.
And this is not
gorgeous. Wonderful. Oh, man.
Maybe just this one is pretty good. I'm sorry about the glare.
No, had Steve and I had you on last week, we could have made that a 5-hour show. So
see, this one it has Wagon Train as well, Wells Fargo, and Rintintin. This is another good one.
Nice.
And I think this is the last issue of the series. If I didn't.
That's a very cool perspective shot too.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And that's it. I'm spent.
All right. Well, these were dynamite. I hope everybody has enjoyed all that. And,
I hope so.
I think now the comments will. Russ Manning artwork stood out in many of those Western comics. Yes.
Yes.
Russ was probably getting paid pretty good, doing a little Tarzan and Western at the same time.
Yeah, he didn't do much Western. I think he did because, as you said, he was doing Tarzan a lot. So he didn't have time, I think, for much Westerns stuff. I know he did Dale Evans the whole run, I think. But outside of Dale Evans, I don't remember him much on Westerns. Maybe he did a few TV show adaptations.
Okay. Yeah, later on in Gold Key, he does about 14 issues of Korak. So,
and he did the Magnus Robot Fighter, of course.
Yeah. Good stuff. Ranger, that was dynamite, and I hope everybody enjoyed that. It looks like they did. Let's see. Fantastic show. Good stuff. Fantastic books tonight, guys.
Thank you.
Jackson says fabulous show. And we'll get back to Jackson in a second. Good. Cool books, Ranger, says Michael Taylor.
Thanks.
Yeah, Jackson, if you like that show, you're going to love what's going to happen next week, because next week it's the Professor and Graphic Man. Here on the Graphic Man Show, we're going to be discussing the Avengers, the Korvac saga, and the Kree Squirrel War, and quite possibly, if we get around to it, the Defenders crossover with the Avengers. So it's going to be all kinds of Avengers, and we will have, as Dr. Silveridge calls him, the Professor. I don't know what class Eric teaches, but I can't wait to be enrolled in his school for that great show coming up next week. And I'm sure Jackson Roy Kirk says he got his internet back just in time for that. Well, I don't know if he says that or not. Awesome show, fellas, says Lead Paint.
Thank you.
Missing Mars says, very nice, guys.
I'm just happy people showed up.
Jackson says, thanks for the warning. Yes, you've been warned. How about the Celestial Madonna storyline? Well, we can only do so much, Lead Paint. We can only do so much. A great show, Guy Way. Thank you.
That was
Thank
where
you.
we're doing.
Yes, yeah. Nicely drawn, though, but it was weird.
Yeah.
All right. That about does it for us. We're going to wrap this up. I hope you guys loved it. It was a giant episode, all puns intended. And we will see you next week. On behalf of Ranger and myself, thank you. And happy drawing, everybody.
Happy